Okay, so there's a question being proposed, and that question is, does right-wing populism exist? Good question. I don't believe it does, and I'll tell you why. Populism, the definition of populism is for the people. For the people is a pretty inclusive term. It's very general, but it's the people, not a section or a group of people. It's all people. So when I think about the right wing, when I think about what they represent, what they love and represent unfettered capitalism. And unfettered capitalism intrinsically has a wide margin of people it leaves behind. In America, it's approximately 40 million people pre-COVID-19. Let's put a bookmark in there. Pre-COVID-19, we can bet it's a lot more now. But pre-COVID-19, capitalism in America left 40 million people without, and struggling, and destitute, with tens of millions more on the cusp of falling way below poverty levels. And so it doesn't really sound like the right wing that favors unfettered capitalism is truly for populism, which is for everybody and is all-inclusive. It just doesn't make any sense. Now, I watched the show Rising with Crystal Ball and Sagar and Jetty. I think it's a good show for everyone to watch. And, I see Sagar, he's on the right side of the spectrum, and, he claims he's a populist and whatnot, and I believe he is to a degree. I think if, he's anti-corporations, okay? So if you're anti-corporate, you get some brownie points there, but that can only go so far. Because if you want open, unfettered capitalism, free markets, you're gonna have a bunch of people left out of that. That's a dog-eat-dog, man versus man, war of attrition, it's just competition maxed out, okay? So when you go back to put the word populism for the people, it's really for a group of people, okay? Because we have 40 million pre-COVID who are left out of this system. It marginalizes people. It naturally discriminates. So I don't know where the populist policies are on the right. I think being anti-corporations on the right, anti-corporate power, anti-corporate speech, like that's good if you say you're a right-wing populist. But I think for the most part, it really can't exist in its truest form, which would be on the left side of the spectrum, which is a truly all-encompassing thing. Like when you take something like Medicare for All, that is a policy that is truly populist. It truly applies to all people. At least the Bernie Sanders bill I'm talking about here, not the public option. I'm talking about Medicare for All, single-payer healthcare system. That is a true populist policy. That's going to cover everybody. No one will be left out. No one will be left behind. Okay. So it's kind of like the equity of populism is on the left, because you can keep going. You can keep going with UBI. You can keep going with Fight for 15, a Green New Deal. And even though some of those right-wingers are kind of inching up to some populist left-wing policies, it has a long way to go. It really does. But I'd like that I see that 50% of Republicans support Medicare for All. A chunk of them support UBI. A chunk of them support a living wage. But it's very small, and we need some work on that end. But can right-wing populism exist? I don't think it can. And if it does, it's very, very small. It has a very small window of operation. The true populism in America is on the left. That's just the way I see it. Where do you see it? Let me know down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe.